but I did not go I did not go full steam. Trust me, I love Allie Hazelwood. I love all the full steam romance novels. But I don't know, I just I couldn't stop thinking about like my parents and all my family members and every person I've ever known reading this and like I just couldn't get over it. So I did I did what I could. I did what I could.
Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. It's Andrew. I am so excited to let you all know that we are now in the top 40 best liberal arts podcasts list that got sent to me, and we're number 3. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. And I just really appreciate that you keep spreading the word. So please make sure you follow us on social media. Instagram is Ivory Tower Boiler Room, TikTok, Dr. Rimby, and please review us on Apple, Spotify. It really, all of it helps. So I hope you just enjoy this episode. And as always, remember, there is an ad-free version on our Patreon. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Andrew Rimby back with a really exciting summer episode for you all. In my beach kind of attire, just got out of the pool, which I feel like is really good for a quest kind of narrative that we're about to jump into in the fantasy realm. I'm so excited to be joined with author Alexandra Ammon Parthun. I never asked you if that's how you pronounce your name.
That's okay. It's Ammon Parthun, but you were
Ammon Parthun. Okay, thank you.
close.
So Alexandra is a romance and fantasy writer. She got her BA in creative writing from the Ohio State University. She loves fantasy worlds and has discovered her love of fantasy through books, video games, and her favorite shows, which we'll dig into all of that. Because, the real world isn't always as fantastical and fun as it should be. So
Yeah.
she loves writing stories where magic exists in the way she wishes it did. Don't we all love that? So whether there's a dramatic adventure or epic love affair to be had, we're going to talk a lot about that in her new novel, For the Love of the Quest, which has been called a sapphic fantasy retelling of medieval lore, very King Arthurian inspired.
Mhm.
So all of her books have actually been written to Taylor Swift and songs from the Vampire Diaries.
True.
And her dog, Piroshki, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
okay? Has sat in her lap for every word. Well, welcome to the podcast, Alexandra.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, first, I love your dog's name. Is there like I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a meaning behind Piroshki.
Yes, so it's like a Russian kind of like dough thing with like meat inside or fake meat for me. And it's we always had it at Christmas, and they were always my favorite thing. And I brought him home like right at the beginning of December, and I just like if you saw his face, like he looks like a little dough ball. So I just thought it was really fitting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I just always love asking right away, like, what inspired you to become a writer?
I feel like so it's weird. Like I think I've always just loved stories. Like I just and so like growing up, I was always like writing little books and like little like plays even and like things like that. And then when I got older, I had actually went first originally went to school for film and I kind of wanted to go the more director screenwriting route. But and I really enjoyed that. And I love TV, I love movies and all of that. But it just, the more I got into that, the more I was just like, this is a lot of like technology. It's a lot of working with people. I kind of just want to like sit alone in a room and like write my own stories. So then I kind of transitioned into books. And yeah, so and then once I started writing books, I was like, why was this not always the plan? Like this makes so much more sense than anything I've ever been doing. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Do you feel like your storytelling, because of that love you have with TV and like TV narratives, is very cinematic because of the way that you just visualize a narrative?
I hope so. I certainly like to think so. Because I think for a lot of my biggest inspirations do come from more of like the TV world and everything. And so I do think I see when I'm writing, I see everything very visually. And like if I can't picture it in my head, like I know some people like weirdly like don't picture things in their head when they like read and write, and I don't understand that. Like that's crazy to me. So, yeah, I would hope so. Like that's what I go for. Like it should feel like you're watching a movie when you're reading a book, I think at least.
Yeah. Do you see a difference between how world building happens in fantasy novels versus, say, fantasy films or TV shows?
Ooh, that's so interesting. I've never really thought about it, but I guess like I think that's one of the things I do kind of love about books is that the world building is can be so much denser and so much more like detail oriented a little bit because with TV and movies you are kind of limited for time somewhat. Whereas with books like you really can kind of like get into the world building and that is one thing I do really love about books in comparison.
Yeah, well, like even I just love how your beginning of your novel like starts right away. Well, first a very complimentary dedication to your siblings and then
Yeah.
your parents for, letting
Yeah.
you pursue your dream of
Yeah.
writing. But like with Edith Darling, our like, central character here who is traveling, is sweaty, like right
Yeah.
away is in this adventure.
Yeah.
And like I just love, you're right, how you can describe the weather, the
Hmm.
autumn breeze, the way that like her face is bright red. It's like things that you can see visually in a
Yeah.
TV show, but you can't like necessarily explore each of those depths in
Yeah.
the way you can in literature, which I
Yeah.
agree. I just love
Yeah.
that. Like I love how you begin. Like what inspired
Yeah.
that beginning of, okay, she has to be moving right away.
Okay, so it's so weird actually because that first like couple pages, I wrote that so early. I had been, this is the second book I've ever written in my life. And yeah, so the first book I wrote, like I did the whole querying thing and all of that, and it kind of like was failing in the querying and whatever. And so I had kind of like while I was in the midst of querying that first book, to get an agent for people who don't know what querying is.
Yeah.
But I like started to have an idea. I was like, I wanted it to be like about a quest, but I had no idea what the quest was. I had no idea of anything. And I don't even think her name was Edith yet at that point. So, but I remember I just like sat down and I wrote that like first couple scenes and then I came back to it like a year later. And I somehow it kept like I did not change those first couple scenes. Like that was pretty much the same as it is in the book now from how it was like before I like started it. So I don't know. I feel like I honestly just like that's I feel like that's where I needed to start. Like they one thing they like drill into you like when you're learning about writing is like start in like the middle of it. Like when you like think you need to start, fast forward a bunch, and then that's when you actually need to start. So I was just kind of going with that, honestly.
Very ancient Greek of you, very in media res, in the middle of things. I
Yeah.
love that though, because I agree. I feel like it leaves your reader, like it thrusts them into this world
Yeah.
that they have to really piece together.
Yeah.
And, um, I think chronology maybe works better in autobiography,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
even that's changing. Like
Oh,
memoirs are
for
really,
sure.
Lena
For
Dunham is
sure.
really playing around with that.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read her book yet, but I want to.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
have
I
it on my
know.
shelf. I do have to read it, but I've been like listening to her interviews and
Oh, cool.
um but well, let's get into your creative writing program because I always find it fascinating with you like knowing that you wanted to go into a creative writing program.
Mhm.
Was that an easy decision? Did you kind of balance different majors that you might want to do? Like, what led you to that process?
So a complete lack of logic or planning for the future. I wish I could sit here and be like, I really thought about the practical major and the repercussions on my life, but I was like, no, like I'm gonna do this or like what else I'm gonna do. Like this is my one thing. Like I'm gonna do this. So, yeah, I didn't really flip-flop back and forth. Like the only flip-flopping I did was from film to creative writing and like, that's not a huge flip. So, yeah, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And like, luckily, kind of like going back to my dedication, like, my parents were never the ones who were like, you need to do something practical. They were like, if you're going to do this, do it. Like, give it a go. So I think that I was very fortunate and very privileged to be able to just kind of like really go all in on what I wanted to do.
Yeah, what did you feel like you learned from the creative writing program that maybe if you had gone into a different, I don't know, history, say,
Hmm.
right? And like your passion is still writing, and then you end up still, of course, right? You can be a writer in all different disciplines,
Of course,
but like,
absolutely.
did you build certain skills that you think you didn't have to necessarily seek out on your own? That there was like more of a support system, perhaps?
That's a great question. So I feel like I had a very I had a weird college experience. I went to some different schools and I transferred, and so I went to OSU, Ohio State University, for my last couple years. And that was after taking some time off. And so by the time I went to school, I back to school, I knew that like I was there to learn. Like I was not like some 18-year-old who's like just going to college for kicks. Like I wanted to learn, and I think that helped me get a lot out of it. Creative writing programs are funny because it's all like no one taught me how to write a novel. They taught, do you know what I mean? Like it was all about short stories and it was all very literary, which there's nothing wrong with literary, but I'm like a romance fantasy girl. So I'm not here writing like the next great American novel. But it was very geared towards that. But one thing I did really learn that I'm grateful for, it's like it definitely made me have like a really thick skin. Because I had never like you sit through so many workshops in creative writing classes where people are just like eviscerating your stuff in front of you. And I think that's really important to experience and like learn how to like just like take it and like take what helps and leave what doesn't. So I think that's an important skill that like I've had to use because like rejection is near constant in this career.
Yeah. Well, in For the Love of the Quest, were you part of a writers group, workshopping, or did you really, how did you get feedback for
Yeah.
your novel?
So I was a part of a writers group, the Dublin Creative Writers Group here in Ohio. So I did have a couple people who read through it and then gave me some feedback, and that was extraordinarily helpful. And the book would not be as good as it. Not that it is good. I would hope it's good, but I
No,
think the
it
book
is
is a
good. It
little.
is good, everyone.
I would hope, but yeah, they help make it a lot better. So yeah, I think like for any writer out there, like having a writers group is really important because you do just sit like writing is all just sitting alone with your own thoughts, and so it's important to like actually get yourself out there, even if it's scary.
Yeah. Is there a certain like how much in your creative writing program, or even like maybe even the writers group, or
Hmm.
your own process, how much have you had conversations about, okay, like this is the headspace I need to be in? Like I know some writers, they love to go for a meditative walk. Some writers, like they're very regimented, some of them, and
Hmm.
some, it's kind of like I just put in an hour a day whenever it happens and just make sure I do that. Like, how structured are you in your writing?
So I am not a structured person. I'm pretty loosey-goosey with it. I can write pretty much anywhere. A lot of this book was written in like the notes app of my phone.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so I what worked for me is I like so like going through like the process of writing everything. Like I do have to structure myself somewhat, otherwise I'm never gonna get anything done. And so for a while I tried to do like time blocks, like you said, where I'm like write for a half an hour, write for an hour, and those never worked for me because it felt like daunting to sit at the desk and be like, you have to be here for an hour.
Hmm.
But I found what did work for me is like doing word count goals. Because like I would do like I use Scrivener, which if any writer doesn't use Scrivener, you should get it because it's the best. It like calculates like how many words you need to write a day to get to your deadline. And so like I would do like it was like 700, 800 words a day or something like that. And ironically, usually that would take me about an hour to do, but like some days it would take me a lot less. And so I could sit at a desk and be like, well, you might only be here 15 minutes if you really blow through this. And so I would just like trick myself into working by just going by word count instead of hours. So that works
Mm.
for me. I don't know what works for other people, but
Yeah. Did you do a lot of research, like specifically because you're setting this in the past, in the
yes.
medieval period? It's, you know, has the King Arthurian
Hmm.
legend to it. It has also, right, Excalibur, like just a lot of this kind of folklore
Yeah.
and mythology. Like, how much research did you feel you had to do to really
So
get into it?
yeah, so I did a decent amount of research. I probably didn't do as much research as like the really like intense historical fiction people who just do these like you're like Taylor Jenkins Reads and like your Kristen Hanna's where you read those and you're like, oh my God, this author is so smart. That was not my level of research. Um, but for the Arthurian legend part, I did do quite a lot just because I had to make all the puzzles and all the like the trials and all of that. And so the tricky part with that research though is it all had to be, I had to make sure it would the stuff I was putting in the quest, I had to make sure it was research that someone in the Victorian era would also have had access to, because otherwise, how would Edith have solved it? So I did a lot of that, and pretty much all of those are pulled from Le Morte d'Arthur and the I'm blanking on it for some reason, but the History of the Kings of Britain by Geoffrey Monmouth.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
those it's pretty much mostly pulled from those two books.
Okay, yeah. So I love Le Morte Arthur and like have taught it in Brit Lit 1. And I think that what's interesting is there's a lot of focus on the Knights of the Round Table. There's
Hmm.
a lot of male bonding and
Yes.
even like homoerotic desire in certain
Yes.
cases, right? Eventually, I'm gonna have John Gwynn on who goes into that like Lancelot,
Yeah.
more queer
Yeah.
angle.
Which, by the
But
way, his book looks so good, and I'm very excited to read
yeah,
it.
the last
Side
book of
note.
Lancelot. Okay, yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out to John Gwynn. But the women, right? You have Guinevere.
Yeah.
Guinevere is an adulteress, but also, is powerful as the queen. But
Hmm.
you have the lady of the lake.
Yes.
You do have like Morgan, or is it Morgana?
Organa. Yeah.
Morgana, yes. And like, so you do have a lot of mythical women, but it's so interesting. They're rarely actually talking to each other. It's
True.
mostly women in relationship to
Yeah.
men. It's like the Bechdel test.
Yeah. It's not the most feminist feminist legend
Yeah.
in the world.
Well, and I guess wait, isn't that why maybe the feminist retelling was done?
Yeah.
Is it The Mists of Avalon? I think
Ooh,
that's what it's
I think
called.
so. I think so.
But, so how did you try to, I guess, decenter the really patriarchal construction of the
Yes.
Arthurian legend?
Good question. So I guess for me, I honestly like I didn't it's not like I sat down to write this book and I was like, this is a feminist take on Arthurian legends. It really was like, I want to write a romance. I know it's gonna be a sapphic romance, and I know they need to go on a quest. And honestly, it I for some reason Arthurian did not occur to me at first. And so I had gone through like at one point it was gonna be like I think my very earliest iteration of this was they were looking for like Pandora's box or something. And then that was just like not working at all. And then like it hit me and I was like, why did you not think of this earlier? You love Arthurian legends, like have them look for Excalibur. Like what are you doing? And once I realized that, I was like, oh, duh. Um, so like I think it just naturally decentered the men because it's all about Edith's love and passion for these legends. Um, and I think that was just an organic way that it happened because, it's not centered on necessarily how great Arthur was or how great Merlin was. It's more about how much joy and hope these legends brought to Edith and what that means for her and her grandmother. And um, so I think if that makes any sense, like I think that just kind of naturally happened.
No, that makes sense. So, is there a certain fantasy that you specifically enjoy? Like, are you a Game of Thrones person? Are you more of like witchcraft? Like, yeah, what kind of narrative do you gravitate
Okay,
towards?
well, so directly Arthurian related. I don't know if you ever saw the show Merlin on BBC and like
Oh, yeah, that's a good
yeah.
show.
So that show is like my favorite show of all time. So that is where my love for Arthurian stuff came from. So like that show like literally is one of the things that inspired me to like tell stories like because I was like this I live in America and it would come out on the BBC and it wasn't available in America yet and I was like 11, 12, 13, and I would be like sitting in our computer room because we still had the one computer back then and found a website like an illegal website where they uploaded the new Merlin episodes every week and I was like sitting down there and I was like I'm gonna get arrested but it's worth it because I would watch the new episode of Merlin and I wouldn't tell anyone in my family. I would wake up before everyone else and I would sneak down there and I'd watch my little Merlin episode, my little illegal website. And I don't know, just something about it was just so wonderful to me. And so that is kind of like, that's one of like my earliest, like, I'm obsessed with this story. I want to make people feel like this with my own work. So yeah, that's one big one.
Yeah, and actually, um, knowing I was going to talk to you, it's actually on Prime Video. Uh, so not that Amazon needs more business, but
Right?
it is there if anyone wants to see it.
Yes,
Um,
yes, it's very good.
and so are you also into fairy tales? Because I feel like fairy tales, medieval lore, they all kind of start to intersect with each other.
Yes, I do. I love a good fairy tale. I love a good fairy tale. I feel like the cringiest, most embarrassing thing about me is I'm like almost maybe a Disney adult a little bit with the fairy tales. Like I'm not the really annoying kind, but I do just love like the princess movies and all the little fairy tale thingies at Disney World. Like I just love that stuff. I love that shit. It's
Yeah.
just
You're not like putting on Mickey Mouse ears though every
no,
day.
I will
Oh,
tell you, I do not own a single pair of Mickey Mouse ears, and I never will. But I will love me some Disney
yeah,
World.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you're wearing them right now, listening or watching this, you go.
There's
But
nothing wrong.
nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I agree that there's a new book that came out, like a research study of the Disney adult phenomenon.
Oh, shit.
So I do feel like there's a spectrum. Uh,
I think
so
I would
yeah,
hope I'm on the low end, but I'm
yeah,
self-aware enough to admit I might be on that.
yeah. Well, and I also think that, the Brothers Grimm and like why I loved getting to talk to Gregory Maguire, like the way that he retells fairy tales in
Yeah,
such a dark fantasy,
yeah.
mature way, and the psychological aspect of it is very different than the way that Disney
Oh, absolutely.
sanitizes
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
packages
Yes.
their narratives.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love a dark fairy tale retelling. Those are the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've ever seen Snow White, A Tale of Terror, but
No,
that
no, I
oh,
haven't.
you should watch it. It is
Gosh. Okay.
so uh dark and macabre. Like it's just very Sigourney Weaver's the queen. It's yeah.
Really? Why have I never heard of this ever? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah, no.
I'm
Definitely look it
excited
up. It's
now. Yeah.
good. And I also know that like with your subject matter, I'm sure you had to think about, okay, how graphic am I going to make this? Like, I know that this is going to be a sapphic romance, so there's going to be spiciness, there's going to be steaminess. Um, like, how did you think about, okay, well, who is my audience going to be here?
Yeah. Yeah. So, there, I will say, like, there's like a little bit of like the tiniest bit of steaminess in this, and then the door closes. I will say. I originally there was even less, and then my editor was like, "What if you want a little more smut to this?" And I was like, "My mother is gonna read this." And so then I added a little bit more, but I did not go full. Like I did not go full steam. I trust me. I love Allie Hazelwood. I love all the full steam romance novels. But I don't know. I just like I couldn't stop thinking about like my parents and all my family members and every person I've ever known reading this, and like I just couldn't get over it. So I did like I did what I could. I did what I could.
Yeah,
But
well, I
oh
just
no,
started reading, or I'm in like the middle of Game Changer, the first heated rivalry
nice,
book.
nice.
And like Rachel Reed definitely went full steam ahead,
I know.
literally.
Which more power to her. I
Yeah.
wish I could. Like I think it's great. But
Well, and I
yeah,
will say, I think there's a reason why a lot of women love heated rivalry because the way that she's so graphic, or not graphic only, but like the way that their sex scenes happen,
yeah,
um, I could tell, and I'm not saying you can usually tell the gender of an author because I don't always think that's true, but I will say, like, I could
sometimes
tell,
it's true.
yeah, I
Sometimes
could
it's
tell
true.
that there's like so much,
Sometimes I read a
um,
book and I'm like, this was a man. A
yeah,
man did this.
yeah. Let's just say that, like, um, after one orgasm, there's like another and another. And I'm like, okay, well, the male body just doesn't work that way. But the female body,
Yeah.
well, that's the thing is the desire is there's a lot more ways to imagine female desire, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think in this, a lot of it is kept to the imagination, but I do think that worked for Edith and Thomason because, like, the emotional connection, I think, is what really drives it. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think like, for me, the emotional connection is always going to be the most important part of a romance book. And I think that the steamy scenes are there to culminate that emotional connection. So, yeah, maybe in the future I'll write more steamy scenes. Time will tell.
Well, and why do you like think, Alexandra, that there is such an appetite right now? Like you see romance bookstores, like I know
Mhm.
in the East Coast we have like romance bookstores opening
Yeah,
up in
great.
New Jersey, New York City, like all over the country.
Hmm.
What is it about the romance genre? And I'm not like talking about just the Danielle Steele, but like there's like such,
Yeah.
interesting kind of like what For the Love of the Quest is part of, like
Mhm.
really interesting worlds that have been built where romance is also
Yeah.
part of that world. Like,
Yeah.
why is romance so popular right now, you think?
I think it's so interesting and I think it's wonderful and I think it's a sign that like women's interests are being taken more seriously.
Mm,
And women are like, which is weird because in some ways the world has never been worse for women or anything, you know. But like maybe it's like in response to that is like, being more open as like, about, like I just think romance books are important. They're joyful, they're like emotional. I think it's a great thing that like they're becoming more like prevalent and like really like I worked at a Barnes and Noble for a good amount of time about like 4 years ago, and even back then like it was nowhere like this. Like
mm.
like romantasy was like just barely a thing, I feel. And so it's I don't know, I just think it's been really wonderful to see how like open people are about like loving the romance books and everything, because I certainly did not used to be as open about like all the books I read, but now I'm like, who cares? Yeah, I'm reading a book. 99% of it is smut. What are you gonna do? Arrest
Well,
me?
yeah. Well, so what was that experience like working at Barnes and Noble? Like, did it make you, um, did it make you excited and optimistic, I should say, optimistic about literacy in America? Or did it kind of like the way that you saw what people gravitated towards surprise you? Or it was like, was there any patterns that you observed? Looking for summer reads, The Gay and Lesbian Review, a bi-monthly magazine that features arts and culture conversations about the LGBT community, has you covered. The July and August issue is all about summer getaways and artists. So, for example, there are articles about David Hockney. There's an article about the sculpture in Central Park that some of you, if you've seen Angels in America, definitely recognize, by Emma Stebbins. So I can't wait for you all to get your hands on this issue. As always, there are TV reviews, film reviews, book reviews, theater reviews. So if you just don't know where to begin with LGBTQ literature, this is a great magazine to inspire you to add more books to your to be read pile. I love the Gay and Lesbian Review, and I'm so happy because I have a promo code for you. Go to glreview.org and get the print subscription or the digital subscription and put in ITBR choice for a free issue of the magazine.
Welcome to Severed, a podcast week dropping new episodes every Monday. Severed True Crime and Severed Paranormal episodes deep dive into murder, mysteries, and the otherworldly in a concise format. A 7-minute story to frame the case with thoughtful analysis and our usual banter.
We sometimes find the lighter side of darker cases. We offer 3 spin-off shows, Severed Strange Stories, Severed Haunted You, and Severed Serial Killers that highlight the unusual to lighthearted topics from the digital dumpsters of true crime, haunted universities, and the minds of madness like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer.
We are your co-hosts. I'm Harry Chambers.
And I'm Drew Hudson. Listen on all major podcast platforms, including Rogue Media Network and Radio Garden State. Follow us on Instagram at severed_podcast.
I would say, I'm a very optimistic, hopeful person in general. So I like to think, yes, like I made a lot of, like I got to connect with a lot of people who like loved the same things that I did while I was working there, which was always really nice. And I got to like I ran book clubs and stuff while I was there, and that was like the first time that I back then like people were not talking about like Court of Thorns and Roses. Like no one had read that back then. And so when I met people who had like read the Sarah J. Maas books and loved them like I did, it was like, oh my God, I found someone who gets it. And it was, and now like everyone's read those books. So it was, yeah, it was, I think it is an optimistic thing to see that, bookstores are doing better now than I feel like they were back then. And, yeah, it's just nice to see people love books. It's just
Yeah.
nice. It's a nice place.
Was fiction or nonfiction more, I guess, being picked up, would you say? Like if you had to
Ooh,
choose.
that's a good question. I probably fiction. Probably fiction, but that might be confirmation bias because I paid less attention to the nonfiction, if I'm
Okay.
being honest.
Yeah. I have to say, I've started to really gravitate or be more balanced getting nonfiction. I mean, I do like nonfiction, but I think it requires a certain headspace that like sometimes I end up taking notes or like
Oh
it
my
can
God.
feel almost like a seminar.
That's so
And
impressive. That's so
well,
impressive, though, that you're taking notes while you're reading. That is, I admire
well,
you.
sometimes I think it's hard for me as an educator to turn that off and like not see a text as,
Fair,
oh, how am I going to teach that or
fair.
use it? But okay, so why do you think Sarah J. Maas Moss has now become so popularized? Like what changed maybe in the culture, or was it a social media
Yeah,
phenomenon?
I think TikTok. I think
Mm,
TikTok helped a lot. Yeah, I think TikTok, and then also just like with the wave of romance. And yeah, I really think probably just like TikTok getting spreading the word and everything like that. And also the books they're just good. Like I know like people have their complaints with them, but like I think they're really good.
yeah, yeah. Is do you think that I feel like fantasy also kind of allows for a really immersive audio experience? Like, are you an
Yeah.
audiobook listener, or like do you recommend some of these books in an audio format?
Yes, I love audiobooks. I listen to them all day at my day job. Not all day, but most days. I do some work. But yeah, no, I love audiobooks. And I haven't listened to any of the Sarah J. Maas audiobooks, but I've heard that they're like amazing. I will say one audiobook that I just finished that was like amazing as an audiobook was This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. That was so good, and it's about podcasters. So they have like snippets where it's like feel like an actual podcast, and it was just one of those ones where you listen to and you're like, I'm so glad I'm listening to this because I feel like I'm getting the full experience.
Yeah, no, well, I'm gonna look that up, Alexandra. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I also love memoirs read by the author,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
autobiographies. I
Mhm.
mean, I just think sometimes extended kind of interviews or extended
Yeah.
audiobooks, like that's where I think nonfiction really does shine in an audiobook way.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely gonna listen to that because I feel like they're doing so many interesting things now with a
On.
full cast that narrates. I love when they change the cast too in the
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I'm lucky enough to have an audiobook of For the Love of the Quest
Ooh.
too. And I got one we got one narrator for Edith and one narrator for Thomason. I feel so lucky. They're both like amazing. And I don't know if you're a fan of Ruth Ware at all,
Oh,
the
I
author.
love Ruth
Yes.
Ware.
So
Yeah.
the same narrator, Imogen Church, narrates all her audiobooks, and I've always like loved her voice so much. And when I got sent the auditions for my audiobook, I saw Imogen Church's name and I was like, are you serious? Are you fucking serious right now? Like her? That's insane. And then to like hear her read my book, I was like, I'm gonna shit myself. Like this is
Yeah.
insane. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
but
great.
anyway, so she plays Thomasin, so I highly recommend. She's phenomenal. And the person who plays Edith is like she just like is the sweetest sounding little bean, and it's just perfect for Edith.
Oh, okay. So yeah, everyone, if you don't have, the book yet, get
Yes.
listen to the audiobook too.
Yes.
Um,
Not to self-plug too much or anything.
no, but I always love an audiobook version.
Oh,
And I'm still waiting for In a Dark, Dark Wood, the film. I thought they were going to make it, then I don't know what happened, but
I love that's the first Ruth Ware one I read, and I loved it.
me me too. I thought it was
Yeah.
incredible. It was so psychologically twisted.
Yeah. You know what? I think I've forgotten. What I love about mysteries is that I love them so much and then like give me like 5, 10 years and I forget about them completely and then I can reread them. And I think I forget how that one ends. So I think I can go back now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so okay, you talked also about the way that, like, I'm thinking of your love for the Merlin series, and I'm also curious if there was like a moment where you realized, okay, whether it was in the Merlin series or just reflecting on narratives like that, where you thought, okay, this is where I can intervene, or like this is something I just wish existed. Did that moment ever happen? Why does anything exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? I think that's a question we all, as curious people, have asked ourselves. And let me tell you, Professor Stephen A. Simon's new book is so thought-provoking that I can't wait for you all to pick it up. He provides his experience as a professor of political science and philosophy to explore that question with such a variety of perspectives from science, religion, philosophy, and even mathematics. He helps us understand what could possibly explain the most fundamental fact of all, that anything exists. So you can get this from broadviewpress.com. The floodgates have opened with science fiction as a genre in my life because I owe this to my husband and I'm going to give him credit. He has really gotten me to think more about sci-fi, film, and literature. I have to say, Minority Report, absolutely amazing. And Alien, I mean, who doesn't love that alien coming out of that human body in the first film? So, Professor Jason Haslam's new anthology provides a lot of exploration with all different short fiction, so many sci-fi authors, over 200 years, including sci-fi that explores indigenous futurism, feminist science fiction, Afrofuturism. Again, you can get this on broadviewpress.com. And last but not least, my upcoming episode with Professor Matthew James Wachinsky explores his book, which is Original Inquiry, a guide to research for undergraduates, a great toolkit for all faculty out there who are just trying to find a book that helps their students understand how to collect research sources and then, right, the hardest part, build and organize their essay with all of these sources and to make a cohesive argument. I can't recommend Original Inquiry highly enough. So again, all three books can be found on broadviewpress.com. Use the promo code Ivory Tower for 20% off.
Are you a fan of classic Hollywood movies?
Are you a fan of queer cinema?
Then do we have the podcast for you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christian Garcia.
And I'm Luke Delmar.
And we are your hosts of That Old Gay Classic Cinema, where we take a look at some of the greatest films of all time and analyze them through a queer theoretical lens.
Let's be honest. LGBTQIA+ people have been a part of Hollywood since its inception, and this podcast celebrates those artists and entertainers of yesteryear while also taking a closer look at the queer-coded characters and stories in classic Hollywood films long before queer representation entered the mainstream.
So follow us down the road of classic cinema as we give you a guide to some of the films that touched our hearts, brains, and even gave us courage to be ourselves.
You can listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
All right, listeners, we're ready for our close-up.
That's interesting. I don't know if I ever was like, this is missing something that I need to insert. Like, I don't know if I was ever confident enough to be like, I can do that. I can change this. I more just was like, so like I admired like so many different like books and shows and things like that. And I just knew that I wanted to make people feel the way I felt when I was like consuming all those pieces of media. And I don't know if I ever really was like, it's this specific thing that I have that I can communicate. It more just was about like, just wanting to like, again, just like be for, like create things that mean something to people in the way that like so many things have meant to me. Because I get way too invested in everything I consume and watch. Way too invested. And so, yeah, I just want to give that to people if I can.
Yeah, that immersive experience. I love what you're saying. That quote is really powerful, Alexandra, that you want to make people feel the way that you feel. Like when you're reading or when you're consuming a story. And I feel like that authenticity, that really resonates. Like it resonated for me reading your novel, but I also think like leading with authenticity, because I'm sure, right, we've all, if you're a writer, you know, if you're not writing from a place of authenticity, your reader's going to tell.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell and be like, wait.
Yeah.
Like you even said, there was a moment where you try to like have a Pandora's box narrative and you're just like, this isn't working.
Yeah, I was like, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not the Greek myths girl.
Yeah. Like, so do you feel that outlining your narrative is helpful, or do you think that it's helpful to a point as long as you don't try to force it?
Yeah, I'm really bad at outlining. I'm so bad at it. I'm really bad at like telling how many words something is gonna take. I'm like so when I like try to like outline chapters, I always am like, okay, so this will be a chapter, this will be a chapter, this will be a chapter, and then I start writing and it takes me like 10 chapters to get through like what I thought would be one chapter. And then the whole outline's thrown off. So what I do is I pretty much every book I've written, I knew what the ending was going to be first,
Mm.
and then I kind of work backwards. So when I start writing, I really know the ending and the midpoint and I typically know the beginning to an extent. Um, so I really just have those three like markers. And then I kind of find it as I go, and I will like occasionally what I'll do is like I'll outline the next like 5 chapters ahead of me, so I kind of have an idea of where I'm going, but beyond that, I not really. Um, and so that's how I've done my books. So I know that might be like a type A person's like worst nightmare, but it works for me.
Well, and you said something about your first text that I thought was so interesting, like when you were writing, like the querying process, right? Like trying to find an agent.
Yes.
And I know that right now, there's authors I have on from, all different presses, small presses,
Yeah.
big presses, self-publishing. Do you think that, like, would you discourage from someone from self-publishing or no, if it like fulfills something for like can it lead to them getting a publisher?
I mean, I think we've seen a lot of self-published novels that have gone on to have enormous success in the traditional publishing world. And I would never, ever claim to have enough knowledge about anything to discourage someone from doing something. Like, if it works for you, wonderful. Like, I would caution people as to how hard all the options are. Like, no matter what you do, it's going to be hard and you're going to have to work really hard at it. But I would encourage people, if you have a story to tell, write it, throw it out there in whatever manner works best for you. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
To be realistic that, you know, uh it's most likely not going to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
But you have to be, if you're passionate about telling the story, you need to tell it. Just like
Yeah.
an actor who has to act.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you have to be doing it because you love to write. Because you have no idea how long it's going to take. Like you just have to keep writing. Like I don't know if you've seen the movie Tick Tick Boom, the musical with Andrew Garfield.
Yes, yes, I like
Yeah,
that musical.
okay. That musical like got me through the failure, quote unquote failure of my first book that never got me an agent or anything because when his like play fails and he's talking to his agent and he's like, "What do I do now?" And she's like, "You write the next thing and then the next and then the next and that's what it is to be a writer." And I was like, "Okay, I will write the next thing." And here I am somehow. So, just got to keep writing.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same thing. Like any kind of artist, creative
Yeah.
person, you know, like when I applied to conferences, I didn't get in at the beginning. And then I talked through, I workshopped, I
Yeah.
reached out to the conference organizers and of future conferences. And I'm just like, this is what I'm working through. What do you think? Like realizing,
Yeah.
oh, there's a community. Like I have I'm not alone in this. I need to talk to
Yeah.
people. Like I
Yeah.
shouldn't, don't like not seeing it as the door closing, but like, okay, maybe that didn't work, but there's going to
Yeah.
be another opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I
And you got
totally.
to keep going. But that's the hard part, right? Is like to persevere when
Yes.
you interpret something as a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, especially when you have no external validation at all. Like all the validation has to come from yourself to an extent, which is really hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, well, let's talk about, okay, so your novel comes out, right, for the love of the quest or any kind of, journey
Mhm.
as um a writer. And then the marketing happens, the social media. Like, how do you weigh in or how do you feel about the pressures that now a lot of debut novelists, but like basically all writers now, unless you're like really
Yeah.
established, I guess, with a publisher,
Yeah.
that kind of presence you have to have with marketing your book.
It's so I will say like I've seen some people be like you'll never get a deal if you don't have a social media presence, and I don't think that's true yet. Because I did not have a social media presence at all when I signed my deal. So I still think you can like I still think at the end of the day, hopefully most of the time the writing is hopefully so it matters. But like with like trying to sell books and things like that and like you said moving into the marketing phase like you do like social media is I think has been the most surprising part of the last year for me because I don't think I anticipated just how much work it would be to like post consistently and like you know like make content and things like that. So it's a lot of mental energy and like even right now, like so the book comes out next Tuesday, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yay, congratulations.
but like right now, like I'm doing like a stupid little like 10-day countdown where I post every day. And just that, I'm like, I'm out of ideas. I couldn't tell you what I'm gonna post today. I assume when this episode airs to people, I will have thought of something. But at this moment in time, I have no idea. So we'll see. It's hard. It's hard. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm curious, do you find more productive space with social media, like especially with LGBTQ literature? Like, do you feel like it helps you even find
Oh
fellow
yeah.
authors to connect to,
Yeah.
or okay,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not all doom and gloom and complaining about how much work it is. It definitely is like it's a really important tool and it's a great place to find communities, especially if you're like in a place like Ohio, like me, where it's more of a, more of a, conservative area. But yeah, so I think for that, it's so important. And I think it's like I feel extraordinarily grateful every time anytime any reader interacts with my stuff, because I'm like, how did you find me over here? Like, that's crazy. So I do think it is really cool to connect with people. And I think that is the good part of it.
yeah. And how do you weigh in right now about the progress with queer narratives? Like, do you think that one specific space is doing it really well? Like, is literature doing it well? Is TV, film?
That's a great question. I think books have been a little bit I will say like I feel like a lot of like sapphic leaning TV shows kind of get canceled a lot. So I think that we've got some room to grow. But and then also like heated rivalry though. Like that's huge. Like that's a huge phenomenon. And it's an amazing show. So it's hard to say, but like I do think the amount of like queer books that we're seeing is really promising and really hopeful, especially in this political climate and everything. I think it's good that all that stuff is still coming out, even against like, increasing pressures against it and things like that. So I think books are doing a good job. A good
Yeah.
job trucking along.
Yeah. Are you excited for like any specific author events, like especially like are you doing any in Ohio?
Yes,
Okay.
so I'll be at the Book Loft in German Village in Columbus, Ohio on the release day. And the Book Loft is like it's like insane bookstore where it's like in an old like Victorian build. I don't know if it's actually Victorian. It's an old building that looks very Victorian, but I could not tell you if it actually is. I'm not an architect. But it's like this like maze of like 30 some different rooms and it's just like it's always been one of my favorite bookstores and so the fact that I'm like doing a signing there is like insane, so I'll be there, which will be cool. And then I'm going to Cincinnati at Joseph Beth Booksellers, and then also Toledo at Gathering Volumes. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to like meet actual real life readers if they come, which I hope they do. So
Yeah,
we shall.
yeah. And I'm assuming too that you know, in the Midwest, it's also like a very strong group, like a group that's very dedicated. Like when they
Yeah.
discover your work or they discover authors who are similar, that there's safety in numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, community, yeah, you gotta have like your little community, and I think it's really important to like build that and everything. So
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know your age exactly, but I'm
I'm
assuming
29, if that helps.
you're 29.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
if
So
that
yeah, so
helps.
you're like early Gen or
I think
a
I'm cusp.
late Gen Z,
Yeah,
early late or no, late millennial.
I think I'm like I think I'm like the last year of millennial.
Okay, okay.
I think.
Yeah, so you're like right on the cusp.
Yeah.
And like what I'm curious about is do you think that there is a concern with literacy right now? I know there's a lot being written about the literacy crisis. Like, do you think that a lot of that is actually something to be concerned about, or do you think that um people are making it into a mountain out of a molehill?
No, I think we should be very concerned. I think people don't know how to read anymore. I think it's bad. I think it's bad. I think well, maybe that's a little dramatic, but okay, like on the one hand, we just had the Columbus Book Festival here, and I've been every year since it's opened, and this year was insanely packed. So on that side, more people are reading, more literacy, that's good. On the other side, you have AI literally thinking for people, and taking away their critical thinking skills. So I think on that side, and maybe like with the younger generations who kind of are more impacted by like that being in their education, I think that we should be very concerned about literacy. But hopefully things work out in the end, right? Because book festivals are popular. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
AI
well
is scary.
they said like in that Atlantic piece that came out about like the end of reading uh was like there is a strong 20% I think of dedicated readers like who are fueling the bookstore sales, like, the library users. Like there's a really strong base of
Yeah.
readers, but it's almost becoming in a way almost like social class. The way that there's social classes, there's kind of like the reading class. Like
Yeah.
almost like
Oh,
this
that's
nervousness
interesting.
that there's like this big divide that's happening
Yeah.
between, who has access to reading and
Yeah.
also is it just being exacerbated by, like you said, the push for um certain people, especially students, to use AI? And like, is
Yeah.
that also based on where they're going to school, like what programs
Yeah.
they're a part of?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that
Yeah.
is concerning.
I think it's very concerning. Yeah. I mean, it all starts with education. And if education is, not good, then, like if our public education is not funded and everything like that, like the whole thing's gonna fall apart. Like,
Yeah,
it's just not good. It's not good, bro.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
good,
yeah.
bro.
And I also think like what I see with my students, and I think there is more actually of resistance to technology, which is interesting, the backlash. Um,
Mm.
but like even myself, I've had to put boundaries on my cell phone. Like it can
Yeah.
be very, you fall into these silos, into
Oh,
these like
absolutely.
virtual worlds. And it's
Yeah,
like, wait, how much time
absolutely.
has gone by? I need to stop this.
Yeah, no, I'm insane. I am insane with my phone. Like I wish I feel like my attention span has gotten like noticeably worse in the last couple years, and it's because of my phone. Um, but yeah, that's wild. And also I kind of forgot you were a teacher, so I feel like I kind of mansplained education problems to you when you're like over there.
No, no, no,
Like,
no, not at all. No, I love hearing your perspective. No, no,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah. No, I think it's great to hear like how you're weighing in about that. Um, and what Alexandra are you really excited about? Like, especially with younger readers or readers who may have never read a romantasy and like
Mhm.
this is the novel that they pick up. Like what are you excited for them to encounter in your novel?
I hope that they can feel like somewhat seen in one of in the characters. And I hope that I just hope they can get a sense of like hope from it. And that like love at the end of the day, I do think it really is the most important thing. And I think it's for me, like this book, what I like wanted with with the romance is I wanted two people who do not fit where they are, have felt like they never fit anywhere, and kind of both are feel somewhat unlovable to an extent and finding each other and realizing that's not the case, and finding kind of a home within each other. And I think that for like kids who don't necessarily feel like they found their place yet, I think that can be an extraordinarily hopeful thing to read about. And feel like that could happen to them because I do think it does happen for everyone. I would hope. I don't know. I'm a very idealistic person and I just want everyone to be happy and be in love.
Yeah, yeah.
Not too much to
You just
ask.
want everyone to love being in love. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Well, Alexandra, this has been a just absolute pleasure. I'm so, happy to talk with you. I'm so
Yeah, me
excited that,
too.
For the Love of the Quest is out there. Um, and again, print, ebook,
Yes.
audiobook. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, and so how can everyone, get their hands on your novel and also just like, keep up to date with your work?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's Alexandra_Ammon Parthun. Also, if you haven't gotten the book yet, you still have a couple more days to pre-order. You can pre-order from Shelf Love DSM. All these links are on my Instagram, or Thirst Books to get two free bookmarks and a little sticker with character art, and then a signed book plate. So you have until August 11th to pre-order those if you want to get the pre-order goodies. And then also Barnes and Noble, you can get from there or any other local bookstores, and things like that. Technically, you can get it on Amazon too, but who
Yeah,
wants Amazon, right?
there's so many other options.
Yes.
Well, Alexandra, thanks so much.
Thank
And, have a
you.
wonderful rest of your summer.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye.